remodeling this chamber back to where it was in like 1907 or something around that time. And the books she put together for us to remember that, we can show those books to our grandkids. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversations about Las Vegas. By the way, she has a home in Las Vegas, and I plan on taking you up on dinner sometime the next time I'm out there. Yeah, I can't say enough. We've talked about your Japanese heritage and had a lot of really great conversations. So I'm only remiss that you didn't hide my favorite snack like you did for Senator Zenzinger, but anyway, thank you so much for all you've done for the people in the state of Colorado. Thank you.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. My dear Cindy, I have not met anyone like you that has so much attention to details and someone that knows the rules. And when you know the rules, you can rule. And so whenever we are stuck down here or we're kind of unsure about the process, you're like the go-to person that we go to help us get back on track. But your attention to detail, your tenacity, and it's not just your work, it's also your teamwork. The people that support you and all of us, they are a reflection of you. And I've never seen her make one single mistake since I've been down here. You have.
Sorry.
Well, I haven't. And the reason I say that is because I see her as being perfect. And I've never seen anything that you've done that would be wrong. And when I look at this place in reference to how you restored it and how we saw the progress, because I would come in here sometimes and everything was gone. And then when we came back, everything was back in order. And when someone was talking about the attention to details, then we got a little picture book that kind of showed the progress and how it was all coming together. And then our desk had a little note in reference to who used to occupy that desk. That is attention of detail that most people don't invest in. The doorknobs that we come into, they were like, they were like black and dirty. You couldn't even tell what the doorknobs are, but when we came back, they were buffed out. We could see the image that someone invested in that design. Just everything about you is excellent. That's all I can say. It's just excellent. It's just been a joy working with you and having your support and getting your advice and getting your input. But there's nothing I don't think she doesn't know. Because whenever I have a question, you always have the right answer. And so I appreciate your service and everything that you've done. I'll see you around. I'm not going to say goodbye to you either. I plan to be in Las Vegas. I'll be calling you.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was December, I want to say, of 2018. And they had the new legislator orientation. Myself, Senator Story, and Majority Leader Rodriguez were the three new members who had been elected directly to the Senate. There were certainly several other folks in our class who came over from the House. And not to put y'all on blast, but y'all skipped largely the new legislator orientation. And I remember coming here to the floor and having the great honor and pride of being trained on floor work by Leader Holbert and Senator Stedman. And you were there. And I remember very early on, my first year, you handed me this red folder. It must have been that first time I was chairing the Cal, when I then came down and made a big old thing about, Cal amendments, amendments to the Committee of the Whole report being fake news. And you just very nicely handed me this sheet that is a reminder about Senate floor decorum, quick reference. Just in case it's helpful. Okay. I have held on to this book for the entirety of my time here, and every time I learn something new from you, every time I hear something new, I write it down so that there are notes here. Because one, and I asked you this just the other day, I was like, thank you so much for all these scripts. And she was like, oh yeah, it took a year to write out every motion, every procedural option. And the rules that we operate by are just fundamentally, subtly, but fundamentally different than they are in the House. And that nuance matters, that attention matters, that respect for order and decorum matters. And in these moments when I feel, I'll speak for myself, like things are so tense and polarized, it is knowing that there is a commitment to the institution and the order and respect and reverence for that institution that keeps it going. You have been so dedicated and professional, even when we could see, bro, I can see your eyebrows from over there. I'm gonna be like, but that reverence for this institution, the fact that you framed the carpet from underneath the vault in order to remind us both of our history and also look towards the future. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much, and best wishes.
Senator Fenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's funny because it's almost like I've done this before. In fact, Cindy has retired 8 times. She just can't leave this place. And I've thought about this, and I was like, why is that? I've thought about it. It's because, without a doubt, I think everybody would agree with this, Cindy is a crazy person. She's incredibly irrational. Who retires from the Colorado Senate, moves to Las Vegas, most days probably sitting by a pool with a martini? She's a good gambler, so she's probably making money. And then you get a call. You're like, hey, we're in a pinch. Would you like to come back to the Colorado Senate? And she does it. She's here like a week later. And I remember when I first started, of course, Cindy wasn't the secretary. I didn't really know about Cindy. And you know, it's not like when you start at legislator freshman orientation, they're like, okay, here are all the former secretaries, and this is what they did, and this is like their mark on the institution. It's not a thing that is like a course that you get to download on. And so I didn't know about Cindy all that much. And, when the Democrats got the majority and yada, yada, yada. And President Garcia, he let the previous secretary go. And it was done. And then it was like in the press, because it turns out he didn't have the authority to do that, which was a little awkward. And it was kind of a bit of a dust-up right over that issue. It was a little interesting for a minute there. I was the brand new majority leader, had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And in my mind, I'm like, this is not a great way to start. It's kind of a bummer how this is happening. But Leroy was cool as a cucumber about the whole thing. He wasn't worried at all. It didn't faze him. And I was like, why? Like, I didn't know you were about to do this thing. Now it seems to be blowing up in the press. Like, what's your exit strategy? What are you going to do here? And he was totally cool about it. He was like, yeah, it's going to be fine. I'm like, okay. He's like, I called the previous secretary. She's coming out of retirement, and she's going to help us out for a little bit. And I was like, a little bit. And he was like, yeah, like a few months. We'll find a new secretary, but she's going to come for a few months to sort of be the bridge. And here she still is today, after trying to retire about 8 times. That's Exhibit A on how much of a crazy person Cindy Markwell is. But she is crazy in a way that this institution benefits from immensely every single day. She is one of the most inappropriate people I've ever met. And you wouldn't expect that at first. She has become somewhat of a mother figure for me. And the thing about Cindy, and I think this has come out in what everybody has said so far, is that she's also, I don't really know how to say this, she's really scary, right? We're all a little bit scared of Cindy. And then you get her talking about her grandchildren. And immediately, you see a side of Cindy that makes you just absolutely fall in love with her because of how much she loves her grandchildren. And then when I first brought my daughter here, the way she looked at my daughter, the way she picked her up, it just made me feel like Cindy is part of my family. And she thinks that way about all of us, I think. Cindy is we think about ourselves as public servants. We're not doing this for the money. We are not anything close to a public servant as Cindy is. She does this day in and day out. As I said, when we go home, she's still working. She's a historian for this place. She's the parliamentarian for this place. She's the secretary. She is the institution of the institution. And we owe so much to her for all of her work over the last several years. She's a little crazy. She's a little scary. She's a little tough. But she's the sweetest, most loving woman I think I've ever met. And she is a crier. That's my goal. But it is an honor to be able to send you off on your retirement for a 9th time. I for one, cannot wait till the next one. I will come back for your next retirement. And, I do have one thing to ask about, though, because, a few weeks ago, maybe it was a month or so ago now, I could tell, she really wanted us to close the desk early. I think it was a Thursday or a Friday. And Robert was doing his Robert thing, and I was doing my thing, and we were running around, and she's like, come on, guys, I really want to close the desk. And I'm like, okay, what's fine? We'll get the bills introduced, we'll do our thing. And she obviously had somewhere to be. Turns out she was flying back to Vegas. I find this out, and she's like, I'm really excited, I'm meeting some friends there. And I was like, hey, and the jar was still sitting there from, I fined someone that day, and there's a bunch of cash there. And I was like, Cindy, you're pretty good, right? And she's like, yo, yeah, I make money every time. And I was like, don't tell anybody. Take this money and see what you can do with it.
So my staff.
And so, no. So she comes back a few days later. It's Monday. I'm like, Cindy, how did we do? And she's like, not totally understand what I said, what I was really referring to. She was like, I did so well. I made $10,000. She was telling me all about it. I'm like, really? That is amazing. And I was like, so what are we going to do? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, the money, but And she was like, oh, I forgot to bring it. I didn't. So we're going to need that money, Cindy. We're going to need some snacks and to refill the war chest. Yeah, we're running low on snacks. But Cindy, honestly, I just want to say thank you. I couldn't have done this job over the last several years. But I could not, genuinely, I could not have survived these last few years. I could not have gone home and actually put work aside to the degree and to the level that I've been able to and spend time with my family if it wasn't for you. Because I knew you were always there making sure everything was going to work out, that everything was going to be fine. And your meticulous nature of scripts and what's going on you're like godlike, you're omnipresent. If someone opens up a soda in a committee room and she's down here, somehow she knows. But I knew that there were so many things that I didn't have to worry about because you were. And this institution is so much better off for your time here. My children are better dressed because of all the clothes that you have given me as a hand-me-down from your grandchildren. And we owe you a huge debt of gratitude. And I think no matter what, for the freshmen that come in, we need to figure out a way that no senator starts in the Colorado Senate without getting a full crash course on everything Cindy Markwell has done for this institution before they start on day one, because it needs to go down in history what you have done for all of us and for the state of Colorado. I love you, Cindy. Thank you.
The Honorable Cindy Markwell.
I'll do this. There's an amendment at the desk. Thank you. Thank you for all of you, or for most of you. I will tell you that there are certain people that I'm looking at, and you know who you are, that I have truly such a deep, deep appreciation for. I've loved being here. I love my staff, who's done so much for me. But for so many of you who helped me do my job and to be here with me, and your staff, thank you so much. Thank you.
Don't have a tribute, a flag and stuff?
There's a video at the desk.
I have never been more scared of anybody than Cindy Markwell. And I mean that with so much love. She is pure and frank and direct and always on a mission and always gets the job done. And I could never thank her enough, and frankly, the state of Colorado could never thank her enough.
Secretary Markwell has been with this building for decades, has spent her entire life committed to the General Assembly and committed to this building. None of this would have happened without her. The renovation, the incredible facilities that we have.
One of the things that is special in my mind about Cindy is she works diligently to protect the institution of the Senate, and she works equally hard at protecting the members of the Senate. Those of us serving now know that we have Cindy looking over us to protect us and looking over the Journal on a daily basis to make sure the record of what we have said and done is properly kept.
She is one of those unsung heroes behind the scenes that has allowed the state of Colorado to flourish in ways that people will maybe never even know.
She has kind of been a one-woman shop holding up this place, and she's going to be dearly missed, but we wish her best in her retirement, and the Capitol as a whole owes her a very big debt of gratitude.
As a legislator, I say thank you to Cindy. She has been so generous to me. She has been so invested in the body of the Senate and in the individual senators, and I, as a senator, feel her investment in my life and in the body in a very special way.
She has put her heart and soul into this institution. I mean, she retired already and came back. And she claims she's retiring now, but you know, we'll all believe it when we see it. But we owe the world to Cindy, and she's kept me sane. She's become such a good friend and confidant, and we will all miss having her behind that desk every day.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would please request the clerk read the tribute for President Fenberg. Scuba Steve.
President Fenberg was elected to serve in the 71st, 72nd, 73rd, and 74th General Assemblies, where he represented his constituents with dedication and honor. During his tenure in the Senate, he was elected by his peers to serve as the Majority Leader and then as the Senate President. President Fenberg served as both Chair and Vice Chair of the Executive Committee of the Legislative Council. He also served as Chair of the Legislative Emergency Preparedness, Response, and Recovery Committee. President Fenberg served on the Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy Committee and the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee. He also served on the Energy Legislation Review Interim Study Committee, the Wildfire Matters Review Interim Committee, the Colorado Youth Advisory Council Interim Committees, and the Joint Select Committee on Rising Utility Rates. During his tenure, President Fenberg had the unique responsibility to serve the state of Colorado as acting governor on July 24th and 25th, 2022, and on December 4th and 5th, 2023. The citizens of Colorado and the members of the Senate express gratitude for President Fenberg's exemplary service to our great state and wish him well in his future endeavors.
Minority Leader Lundin.
The line is, in the inimitable words of Senator Bob Gardner, I will be brief. Senator Fenberg, Steve, we are political opponents and rivals. You don't end up in our positions if you don't have an attitude that is one that pursues total world domination. And so we are inevitably at odds, just by virtue of who we are and the jobs we've undertaken on behalf of our teams. And at the same time, we're members of a brotherhood that are leaders of teams that want total world domination, that have to figure out how to get to the place where the best thing for all the people we represent and our team members represent get the best possible outcomes that can be achieved in that political dynamic at that political time. So we start out with an inherent conflict and an inherent brotherhood, which requires clear communication if it's going to remain decent, or if it's going to fall apart, the communications will be fraught. I think this last special session we had was a really good example where we entered into something, we were moving fast, we were trying to figure out what was going on, and we thought we were communicating. And we were communicating, I think, in very meaningful and beneficial ways. But the lesson that I took out of that, and you probably took a similar lesson out of that, is probably a good lesson to carry forward in every aspect of your life. It's the skill of signposting when you're communicating. Okay, here's what I'm hearing you're saying, and here's what I'm saying, are you hearing? It's the mirroring back what you're hearing. And I don't think we were always mirroring. I remember you standing on the steps saying some very unkind things to me on more than one occasion as we were trying to walk through. No, that's not what we said. So anyway, the point is, the life lesson out of that for everybody in the room is, when you're having a conversation that's meaningful with somebody that you care about, whether opponent or collaborator, and you're working together, signpost, mirror back. Here's what I'm hearing you're saying, et cetera. So that is a lesson I learned from that. You are always calm and cool and collected, except when you're not. It's a gift now. I mean, it lives on forever for all of us. The one point in my very brief remarks, and I look forward to having a dinner or two and sitting and really chewing through what we've been through over the last couple of years together in greater detail. But the one point that I want to call out to you and to everybody in the room, I believe that the only thing that is permanent about us is relationship. I believe that we've got a spiritual nature that has the ability to connect in perpetuity, and that fostering that relationship is critically important. And Steve Fenberg, I look forward to continuing to foster that relationship that I have begun to grow with you, and I hope will continue to grow over the years. You are a worthy adversary. Obviously, you've beaten the crap out of me for the last limited while. But I look forward to maybe the pendulum swinging, the sand in the shoes shifting, and circumstances being different. But I look forward to getting to know you better even as we move forward and you move on from this chamber. Thank you for serving this institution so well. Thank you for becoming someone that I would call friend, and I hope you would call me the same. Steve Fenberg, I admire you. Godspeed.
Senator Smallwood.
Are you Mr. President or Mr. Chair in recess?
For now, I'm Mr. Chair.
We're in recess, aren't we? Yeah. President Fenberg, I didn't like you from the moment I saw you. From the very first moment that I saw you, I'm like, man, I really dislike this guy. Because we came in, again, as you know, as freshmen together. And Steve clearly has been very involved in politics for a very long time. So he knew, esoteric little political insider things like what second reading was. I had no idea what second reading was and how it was different from third reading. How come there was never really a first reading that I ever saw? Steve, this was the kind of stuff that he already knew, right? So not only was he, he's a good-looking guy, and got his little skinny pants on, and his tight jacket. And I'm wearing suits from the 90s, He's got all this thick head of dark hair, family, the whole 9 yards. So, and he represented Boulder County. I don't know if you know, but Boulder County and Douglas County don't always agree and align politically, not always. So right away, we kind of have the protagonist-antagonist thing going on, and he's got everything else. He's got the experience, and he talks well, and he knows all this. So it took until 60 days ago for me to realize that maybe this guy's okay. Because he asked me finally after 8 years to run a bill with him. I think it's our first bill that we ran together. And it was landmark. Fortunately, it was landmark legislation. But because as I promised, I have a list of apologies for every single one of you. Steve, I am so sorry for purposely making you so angry in the antechamber that you couldn't complete a sentence without saying the F word. Every other word, sometimes as multiple words, adjective, adverb, verb, noun, then a couple of other words, and then some more. I've never seen a legislator so angry. Like, if he was strong enough, which he clearly isn't, but if he was strong enough to pick me up and throw me out the window of the antechamber, I know he would have. So, Steve, I did all that on purpose. And I truly am sorry. It was wrong of me to do. I should not have done that. But looking back, it will be the most fond memory that I have of you. You're gonna continue to go on and do great things. You're clearly a leader. People chose you, even though you were young and smarmy. They chose you as a leader, and you've led. And I don't know, quite honestly, I don't know how you keep it together all the time. You've definitely earned my respect. I find you to be not only incredibly intelligent and well versed in this sphere. You still know stuff that I would only fantasize about knowing in the realm of politics. But your sense of humor is. So eerily similar to mine that my guess is in some other universe sometime we would have a lot of fun together, like college or something, right? Like outside of this. So you've been illogically kind to me. There's some blunders that I made that you could have really capitalized on, and you never did. I've really enjoyed our time together. I can't believe it's been 8 years, quite honestly. I would say the same about Chris if he was up here, since I'm staring at him. But you made a lot of these tough situations fun and enjoyable. You do a great job. You're going to continue to go on and do just amazing things. And I was glad to be a little bit player, a little cameo in the movie that is Steve Fenberg. So best wishes. I wish you the very, very best, buddy.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The word is defenstrate. If he would have thrown you out the window, defenstrate. Thank goodness that didn't happen, because he would be in jail. He would be in jail right now. Steve and I came to this building the same day, started our service 8 years ago, and I can remember being a little ticked off about Steve during our orientation, because I'm like, first of all, who's this guy that goes straight to the Senate? And who's this guy who runs in Boulder and has no primary in Boulder County? What on earth is going on? Is his dad a billionaire or something? Is there something we don't know? Certainly not. He'd been working super hard for a very long time. But I got to go to the House and be in the majority, and he got to sit over here, and, well, we know what happened that 2 years in the Senate. All the good bills from the House came over and died. He tried hard on SVMA and had at least a taste of that life. But now, 8 years later, as we bid him farewell and good luck on the next whatever it is, and we've all been asking him for months, right? Every single one of us. We'll find out soon enough. But you hear that old phrase about people who play chess and people who play checkers. Steve's been playing chess from the first day he walked in here. And he's playing on 10 boards at once now. If you remember that TV show where she plays 10 boards at once. That's Steve. I admire him for that mental acuity and agility. He's also somebody who keeps his cards pretty close to his vest. Got to probe a little bit. So where are you on that bill? I don't know. What do you think? What are you planning to do in committee? Which is a great tactic as a Senate president. But it also quickly melts away into his intense humanity. And we've all seen it in moments with some cuss words, but also some moments where he is helping us understand the arc of this story that we're part of. And he does such an amazing job of that. Think of opening day speeches that he has crafted over the years. So incredibly good. And his humanity shows through. He is a student of history, a student of gametes, too, by the way, as we have found out over these last 2 years. And I will just close by saying one of my favorite memories of Steve is joining him at his beloved bread bar. And I got there a little early for an event that we were doing, and Steve quickly realized that he was out of simple syrup for his bar. Now that's a tragedy for a cocktail party if there ever was one. He immediately runs and gets the sugar, starts heating up the pot, and makes a whole batch of simple syrup in about 2.5 minutes. It was incredible to watch. He's also a very good bartender. And he sat there relaxed and made a couple of great drinks for us and just made it a joy to do this work. I don't dare say goodbye because we're all going to get to see lots of you in the years to come. I know I will for sure. I love you, my friend.
Senator Gardner.
Keep it brief.
Thank you. To the tribute. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, Mr. President, Steve, thank you very much for your very, very kind words this afternoon. Up until that point, I was thinking of coming down here and thinking, I've been waiting 8 years to do this. I don't know if you remember when we first met, maybe we have different memories of that. When I came back here to the Senate, I was invited to a panel at the Colorado Association of Nonprofit Organizations I, for some reason, was the sole Republican there and was sort of there because I was a more experienced person but new. And there was this guy, Steve Fenberg, and this woman from the House, Leslie Herod. And I was trying to take the measure of these people. And so when I got back the next morning or something, Chris Holbert said, well, how did that go? Who were the other two people? And I said, those two people should never be in charge of anything here if we can help it. And I said, you know, the guy, Fenberg, he's really dangerous because, you know, he dresses like a Republican. Now, my truly favorite moment, I'm going to get in trouble with your predecessor, but my favorite moment, I don't know that you remember this at all, but after President Garcia left for Washington, D.C., and you ascended to the throne, and Dom took over as majority leader after, I don't know, after 2 or 3 weeks, and everybody was settling in and all. You were over here at your desk, and Dom was over there, and I walked up to Dom, and I said, and you were standing there as well, listening, and I said, you know, Dom, I just wanted to let you know, I have to tell you, I think you are doing so much better a job than your predecessor. And as I said that, I saw your draw drop, and it's like, what am I going to say? And I turn to you and I say, and you know, Steve, you were doing so much better job than your predecessor, I can't even tell you how much. And it's true. It is true. You have, despite my admonition to Majority Leader Holbert, I've seen you as president grow, be dedicated to the institution as a president should be, and not simply to your party. Clearly, you've done well by your party, but you've done very well by the institution, which is, I think, often forgotten by presidents, that they're the president of all the Senate. I think you will go down in our history as one of the very best presidents of the Senate in temperament, in manner. You know, the thing that scared me most about you on that day many years ago was I saw that you had a first-rate, exceptional mind and grasp of the issues, and could get on top of those things so quickly. When you mentioned the bill that we carried together, when you called me to your office, and I was like, what did I do? But I was privileged that you asked me to join you on what was a very important bill and a groundbreaking bill. And it's something that I think we both will be very proud of in the years to come. I'm going to go back and practice law. You have a bright future. I don't know what it holds for you. There's so many things to do, and I've always thought. I ran for the House and then came to the Senate well into my life. My kids were grown and so forth. I think your future, wherever you go and whatever you decide, I still think you should go to law school. You have the mind, you have the skills, everything about it. But I just want to tell you how much I love you and respect you, how much we have grown together as friends, and I've not been easy to deal with, they tell me. But through all of that, we have formed what I think is a very special bond, and I respect you and love you, and Wish you well.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. James. So I am up here for one reason only, and that is to establish for everyone in this room that we are different people. This is Steve Fenberg. I am Jeff Bridges. And occasionally, also, I am not Chris Hansen. I just want everyone to know this because my first year in the Senate, there was a fantastic article that was written about me, about a bill that I had in committee, quotes from me, received from me directly by the reporter, and it was a fantastic article, but it didn't show up in my Google feed because the entire article called me Steve Fenberg. Thanks. At a pre-session fundraiser, I had a lobbyist. They work in this building. I had a lobbyist come up to me and go, "Hello, Mr. President. I am not Steve Fenberg." I had a drafter. I got a panicked call from a co-prime of mine in the House saying, "I just talked to the drafter. They said you have no idea what this bill is and that you don't want any part of it. What happened?" And I'm like, I didn't, I'm literally not at the Capitol today. I don't know how that could have happened. And just now, someone came up to Nellie and said, "Where's Steve?" And I saw her point at me. She looked a little confused and then went, "Oh no," and then pointed over at Steve. No one in this chamber is better at managing the Senate. The people, the policy, the process. No one has better political insight and is able to cut to the heart of a policy question or a political question or polling question better than Steve. And no one is better at getting other people to do his work for him. Was that a secret? Did you not want people to? It's very true. I am honored to call Steve a friend, I think, because he plays with his cards so close to the chest. You can't really know. And for years, I'm fine to admit this, for years, I wasn't quite sure what was going on the other side of Steve. So close to the chest. And I think maybe 2 years ago, maybe last year, maybe the year before, I think it finally clicked for me. I kind of divide the world into three different kinds of people as far as their motivations go. There are people that always do what's right. There are people that will always do what's in their own best self-interest, and that varies widely because people are very bad at knowing what's in their own best self-interest. And then there's people motivated by something else, and that's a mystery, and like each one of those is on their own. Steve is in that first category. But what he helped me understand is that there's a lot of different ways to think about doing what's right. That is also a scale, just like the what's in your own best self-interest. And I feel like the way that Steve always focuses on what is best for Colorado, what is best for this state and the people who live here, is exactly what we need in a Senate president. It's exactly what we need more of in this chamber. Steve puts what is best for the people of Colorado above party, above us. I hate to say it, folks, but I think that he cares more about what's best for the people of Colorado than whatever it is that we want Steve to do. He is a deeply good person. It took me a while to see it because he does hide it so well, and I don't know why he hides it so much, but he is, I think, one of the best people in the legislature, one of the best people that I know. And so, given that this is a eulogy of sorts, a living eulogy, I have a few words. Fenberg was a good bowler and a good man. He was one of us. He was a man who loved the outdoors and bowling. And as a surfer, he explored the beaches of Southern California from La Jolla to Leo Carrillo and up to Pismo. And so, Stephen Theodore Fenberg, in accordance with what we think your dying wishes might well have been, we commit your final mortal remains to the bosom of the Pacific Ocean, which you loved so well. Good night, sweet prince.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Hey, Bridges, you don't need to, hey, Bridges, Jeff, you don't need to suck up anymore. He's leaving. He's leaving. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I know you won't be flipping your vote tomorrow. Don't worry about it. I know. I don't care. I won't be there. Oh, the first time I met Steve, what's your name again? Steve Fenberg. Do you remember when you met me? Well, actually, I didn't actually meet you. I was watching you from the back. And you two do look a lot like from the back. But, and it was during the Senate Bill 181. And his opening statement after he said that, I thought, well, that was really wrong. I shouldn't even listen to this guy anymore. And, I thought a lot of things. I eventually did have a meeting with you in your office. And he was explaining the bill to me and talking to me about local control. I thought, okay, whatever. And I was thinking a lot of things. Mostly, though, I was thinking, why did you have such a crappy couch? That couch was crappy. I'm like looking at him thinking, it's hard to pay attention because he's sitting on this couch with his feet up. And I thought, he's got a crappy couch. And I thought, I don't need you. I know, and it's still crappy. It's kind of an ugly, crappy little couch. But anyways, yeah, well, that was interesting. And I walked out of there thinking, well, okay, I just had this little punk kid tell me about local control that I've been a county commissioner for. I thought, whatever. Anyways, I was working to try and get amendments on it. No, he didn't give me amendments then. We all know President Fenberg. If he does agree to your amendment, he goes over and makes sure it's his amendment, right? But he didn't give me amendments. I had to go over and get them from Becker. Seriously, and I did get them, by the way. But anyways, it is true. It's true. Well, actually, she got really ticked off at the governor. But when I got elected, I heard that you didn't really want me here. That really hurts my feelings. Yeah, and they said that you were afraid of me. And I thought, well, you should be. But now I'm happy to tell everyone that I'm actually his favorite. Right? Right. Favorite Republican senator? Say yes. Yeah. Yeah, see? You heard it. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. You don't need to get, I'm talking. Yeah, I'm in the top 12. Thanks. Anyways, oh, hey, I got a call from Excel. They said they are really sorry that you're leaving. And it's not just them. They're sorry you're leaving because they know it's a new era. For them, Oxy called, they're sorry. Chevron, they're sorry. Civitas, the line goes on. They're all really sorry you're leaving. And the Front Range Rail people, they called. They're sorry also. They're sorry you won't be around in 3010 to ride on the rail in its inaugural run. But hey, keep the hat. This is really fun. Let's see, I've got a couple hours yet to go. You know, I do have to say that in my first year, I watched you on being the majority leader, and you did a great job running the floor. Of course, what did I know? It was my first year. But for the longest time, I thought you had two jobs. I thought you were not only the minority leader, or the majority leader, but you were chief of staff for the governor, because one time I went looking for you. One time I went looking for you, and you said, yeah, he's in his office down on the first floor. Just saying. And then, you know, Senator Bridges, stop shaking your head at me. And yes, I do have to work with him a lot. Yeah, you do. Yeah, but it's true. There are a lot of people that mix the two of you up. Sometimes from the side, from the back, you kind of wear the same suits all the time. You look a lot alike from different angles. But then I realized you're taller than Jeff, so now I never mix you up. You know, there was another time that Majority Leader Rodriguez and I, you weren't Majority Leader then, but we were over on the other side. Somebody was having one of those little breakfast things, and you and I were chatting about something like from the 70s. And Steve walks up and starts to join in on our conversation, and I'm thinking, finally I just looked at him and I said, how old are you? And he's like, well, I'm 38. And I thought, well, that explains a lot. You're the same age as my oldest daughter. And the other day, we were standing here, and he showed us a picture. And that was me at Smallwood. You showed that picture where you had brown hair, right? That was in 2020. I would like to think I helped with that gray hair. And I just can't tell you how much fun I had this last summer and fall, traveling the state, explaining Proposition HH, you know, your initiative, to all of Colorado, if held, by the way. I'm not mean. I'm telling the truth. These things are truth. They've been in the paper. It was all over the place in November. It lost. It failed, like by 20 points. Yeah. But anyways, but seriously, I want to thank you for when you came down here, and it was this session. You've done it a couple of other times, but this session, you told the story about your family and Israel. And I think I sent you a text, and I said, thank you. That was really generous of you to share that with all of us, and it left an impression. And I thank you for that. It was the right time to tell that story in this room. And I think it helped all of us, everyone, really galvanized to understand what this meant not only to you, but to the world, quite frankly, to other generations. And I really do thank you for that. That was very meaningful, and I think it meant a lot to all of us, that you would share that you were that generous to share your story. I know from having some talks with you, like when we were at the radio station that day, you're a great dad. I've seen you with your girls. You're a wonderful father. I appreciate your wicked sense of humor, and you do have a wicked sense of humor. You know, I've seen you up there texting away, and I just know you have a wicked sense of humor, and I do appreciate it. I think you're great. We also all know you have a temper, and that was been already explained. So no more up in the balcony, Priola. No more up in the balcony. But I would say this about you as well, and others have said it to some extent also. You are a man of strong integrity. That is the best quality about you. You, in the end, you do what is fair and what is right. And I would agree with Senator Bridges, with Jeff. Your heart is in the right place, and you're always working to do what is right by Colorado. And I appreciate that about you, and I respect that of you. I have really actually enjoyed working with you for the last 4 years. You're a great guy. You've done a great job. We are going to miss you. Mostly because now we'll all have to show up on time, probably next year. But anyways, thank you so much for everything you've done for Colorado, and I hope that we can call each other friends. I hope that we see you around. I actually hope that you become an executive director and I see you at the Joint Budget Committee for hearings. So anyways, thank you so much.
Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I've never been confused with Steve Fenberg. Yeah, never. I don't know why. I remember meeting with Steve when I was still in the House and in your office with Mindy, and I'll just say I'm going to miss Mindy more than I miss you probably, just so you know. You know, I thought you were a cool guy, and then I decided I was going to run for the Senate. And ran for the Senate, and the Republicans wanted to question my residence and where I lived. And I got a call from President Fenberg on the phone. And over time, my wife and I have purchased homes, and we lived in them and then converted them to rentals. And so it all shows up. There's multiple houses, and it all shows up with our names on it. And I get a call from President Fenberg after this accusation's been levied against me. Where the F do you live? So I explained it to him, explained the whole scenario, explained everything to him, and then he followed that up with, so what, are you some sort of slumlord? And I could just see the wheels turning in his head as how is he going to get this guy elected? And that was my first interaction with you as the president. Yeah, so he did help me get elected. I'm here before you today. And then I get here, and, you know, I don't think I'm the only one that thinks this, but maybe I'm the only one that says it out loud, is I think you're one of the most handsome presidents in the United States. Like, I mean, if we would go around state to state and looked at who's, you know, leaders of chambers, I think you're up there. I mean, I've fondly called him a silver fox. I have gotten a call from Ben Fitzsimmons, and he didn't tell me who levied the complaint, but yeah, so yeah. I have been called to President Fenberg's office multiple times since I've become a senator over the last 2 years. I think this year there was actually he made some sort of comment to me that he was going to get a ticket machine for outside of his office so people could take a ticket for every time they had a problem with Senator Mullica. And so I've had a lot of conversations. Yeah, I'll leave that there. Yeah, I know, Senator Gonzalez, I know. One thing I'm sure a lot of you know too is that the president is a foodie. He really likes his food, and he likes fancy food. I got to hang out with him and former Majority Leader Moreno several times, and we go out and he orders fancy drinks with like the one big like square ice cube, and they stamp it, and it's like steaming, you know, and then it's like, yeah, and then there's like food I can't pronounce, and it's like really small portions, and if you could tell, I don't like small portions. I prefer larger portions. And so I'm sitting down with Majority Leader Moreno and Senator Fenberg at one of these kind of foodie type places, and I just made the comment, you know, to him that I was more of an Olive Garden kind of guy, you know, all you can eat breadsticks and salad and soup, you know, and I don't know if they have Olive Gardens in Boulder or not, but I have tried to invite him to my district where there is an Olive Garden that we could enjoy together, and so I'm hoping that he takes me up on that. So, yeah. No, and on a serious note, Steve, I've really looked up to you a lot, and I've really enjoyed serving with you. When I say I look up to you, you know, I mean that figuratively, not literally, you know. I'm taller than you. That's what I was trying to get at right there. But no, you have been an amazing leader. You've guided us through some really difficult times, and you know, and I think that Colorado is a better place because of you. And so I know this isn't goodbye, and we're going to still see each other and hang out. And you're going to come to Olive Garden in Thornton for all you can eat breadsticks and soup and salad. I do live in Thornton, just for the record. I know I think that's going to be on YouTube. I do. No, stop that, Steve, right now. Stop. But I really do appreciate you, and I cherish the friendship that we've been able to build. So thank you.
Senator Pelton B.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I just have to say that my time with President Fenberg has been pretty sketchy at first, because I came to visit him and I gave him this great bill, and it was called, and I said, we really need to fix the property tax situation in Colorado. So I brought him this bill about a property tax task force. And he says, well, we'll take a look at it. And then we kill it, and then he brings it back for the special session. So that was a great idea that he had. I love his idea. But my favorite part about him is that I was talking to him about elections, and my county clerk, which I don't know if everybody has met my county clerk, but she is hardcore. She loves her job, and we all know how much she loves her job because she wants certain things fixed in her job. And I went to the president and I said, hey, can we get this part fixed where we're dealing with all these VSBCs? And is your county clerk Pam? I said, yes, it is. Yes, I've talked to Pam several times, and we got it fixed. We got it fixed, and he did a wonderful job. And in this last bill, I even got on the bill with him because we got it fixed in our area, and I really appreciate him doing that with the attention to detail and taking care of that. But this is the best part about everything. Well, let me talk about this real quick. President Fenberg has never met a fee he doesn't like. So when he brought up the legal fee bill, because it will be sued, I'm sure it will be, where we were putting fees on rental cars, I came up with like 13 amendments, 15 amendments, and I was gonna run it. And he was not around, and I always try to, as this side knows, I always try to give your amendments at least 24 hours in advance so you can look at them. So I sent him a text, and I said, Mr. President, I had Frank put a bunch of amendments on on your desk. They are from me. He sent back, I will crush you. And I said back, I'm sure you will, but here are your amendments. So let me talk about this final thing. So all year I've been really working against his bill about green energy siting. And we had Washington County people come up, and I had no idea that these Washington County people, they were awesome people. They came in and testified against this bill. And you know what President Fenberg did after the hearing was done? He took them a tour of this entire Capitol. And just really opened it up and was like, we're taking you to the Dome. He did, and was that a late night or was it in the afternoon? It was late. So he took them all the way up there and took them on this great big tour after they just testified against his bill. Took my constituents. And I think it's because he wants to move in next door to Richard Holtorf in Washington County and be a Washington County resident. And it'll be great to have you living in Washington County. But the words that were brought up tonight were integrity, your heart's in the right place. Everything is right about that, Mr. President. You've been great. I've just been here for 2 years. You've really remind me never to run another HUT bill with you ever again. But that was lots of fun. I enjoyed that. But I really did appreciate all the time and effort you took with a brand new senator, and I love how much ribbing that you give Jerry Sonnenberg when he comes back here in Grantham, because that is a lot of fun to watch. So thank you for everything. I will appreciate you, and I can't wait to see you at CU games, because that was another thing he said. He's like, you like CU? Yes, I'm a big CU fan. I've been a big CU fan my whole life, and I got to see him and his family at the game, and it was a lot of fun. So, but thank you for everything, and I do appreciate you.
Senator Buckner.
As Majority Caucus Chair, I want to announce that Senator Fenberg would like for us to speed this up. He's ready to go. Oh, well, but before I met Senator Fenberg, his reputation preceded him. But I decided that I liked the company he keeps because he's really good friends with Joe Neguse. I love Joe Neguse. He's really good friends with Leslie Herod, and I love her as well. So I said, he must be a really good guy if he's friends with these two. And When I decided to come over here to the Senate, I had a short conversation with you, and you thought I would be a perfect fit. And I think I am a perfect fit for the Senate. Yeah. Just toot my own horn, right? But one thing I do know about Steve Fenberg, he loves this institution. When you sit next to someone, you really learn a lot about them. We have little private sidebar conversations, but we also have intellectual conversations. We like to joke a lot, and he has an amazing sense of humor, a dry sense of humor, and he's really, really smart. He has a huge heart and a big heart, and he's really more sensitive than I think most of us realize. And if I had to adopt another son besides James Coleman, it would be Steve Fenberg. One of the highlights of my time in the Senate, and I think we've only run one bill together, but it was a doozy. UPK, Universal Pre-K. We ran that bill together, but it is still something that is the highlight of my legislative career, and I'm so proud that I was the co-prime sponsor with you on that bill. Steve Fenberg probably understands me more than anyone in this chamber, and he also has faith in me. I have learned so much from him. He's an amazing leader, and I can't wait to see what he does next. But I really do think in your future, I think your next move is going to be a conductor on a train. And I will ride your train any day. Oh, that didn't come out right.
Senatorial 5.
Senator Buckner, go to your room.
Oh, God, I hope this doesn't end up in the newspaper. Leave it to me. I'm sorry. But Steve Fenberg, I really do love you. And I wish you the best in your future.
Sit down. Sit down.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minority Leader. No more train analogies. Mr. President, I won't be riding any trains anytime soon with you, but I did have a chance to get on an airplane with you and fly 14 or so hours to Israel in 2017 with Capstone and Jewish Colorado. And it was a great opportunity for us to get a chance to connect and for me to learn more about your culture. All of us have had a chance to serve with President Fenberg, maybe be in a committee with President Fenberg. But how many of you, by show of hands, have had to be a roommate with President Fenberg? Only me. So you won't be surprised when I tell you that I didn't get any sleep because he snores really loud. He wets the bed. No, that's not true. Because we were in separate beds and they changed the sheets. Where is your mind at? Get your mind right. No, but I had an opportunity to go to Israel with the president and get a chance to get to know him and learn about his culture. And of all the people, I could have been bunked with Bob Gardner, but I got President Fenberg, and so it was interesting, but also a really cool opportunity. Our loss. No, I'll be brief and just say, when I think about Steve, I think about a scripture that comes to mind. And it says, "The greatest among you will be your servant. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." We are all here duly elected, but there's only one individual that we collectively elect to be the president of the Senate, to lead all of us. And I think there's a idea, I don't know about you all, but before I got elected, I saw elected officials up on a pedestal. I thought they were untouchable. I didn't know I could reach out to them and have a conversation. And so that's how sometimes folks feel about us, but then once you get elected, you realize you really are a servant of the public. And the president, our president, has been an individual who is not only representing his district and serving them, but has a responsibility to serve all of us on both sides of the aisle, this entire chamber. The last thing I'll say is something that an individual wrote that when I read it, I think about Steve. It says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." When I think about President Fenberg, I think about this Man of the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt, because he stepped into a position of leadership, and whether it's good or whether it's bad, it's on him. And in my experience with the president, when things go well, our caucus or our chamber passed a bill that made an impact that changed lives. But when something goes wrong, everybody's looking to him to figure out how could he let that happen. And he has stood by others who have had challenges, who have had struggles, and defended them. And at the same time, he stepped up and took full responsibility when there was no one else to blame. So for me, it's been a pleasure being your president pro tem, because you actually let me do things. You actually let me experience and know what it's like. And it means a lot to me, because I think there are a lot of folks who are in positions of power who don't ever think about what comes next, don't think about the future. And so for all of us, we've all been blessed, no matter what we go on to do, by your leadership. And because of your leadership, we can go on to do great things, because you didn't just talk about it, you be about it. You showed us how to get the work done. So we appreciate you. Thank you, and love you, brother.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really going to miss serving with President Fenberg. We both came in together 8 years ago, and I hit it off with him immediately. When I got tired of talking to Senator Smallwood and Tate over here, I'd always go over to his desk and lean over, and we'd touch base on solar stuff or the newest, latest, what battery storage technology was, or grid stuff, this and that. We hit it off. And it's true, as majority leader and president, he's definitely great at holding his cards close to his vest in conversations and asking more questions than giving more answers. I had an experience when they legalized mushrooms. He was very gracious, having sat on the opioid and other substance interim committee, study committee. He's very gracious in us getting together and maybe carrying a bill together with Representative Mobley in the House and some others. But after sitting through a number of stakeholder meetings, I realized I was way over my head dealing with this policy, and he was excellent at it because he's actually grown mushrooms in his closet. Something I have not ever done. So I decided to focus on other things, and the bill went well. I did co-sponsor that bill, by the way, just so you want to know. One thing that has always cracked me up the last couple of years down here is the number of members who refer to him as the chair when he's up there. When is the last time President Fenberg has come out and done seconds? He doesn't do seconds, but folks will refer to him as a chair, and it's just something that's always kind of made me chuckle. I've enjoyed discussing our families and seeing your young family. It reminds me of what my family looked like, a decade and a half ago. But I really will always remember you sharing the story of your Jewish heritage and your relatives. It's very powerful, and I'll never forget it. President Fenberg approached me about getting into a real estate deal a couple years ago, and I politely kind of said no, but I probably should have taken you up on it. It wouldn't have been a bad deal, but that's water under the bridge. I've always really enjoyed his quick wit, and it's something I'll miss. And Senator Buckner might have ruined me referring to this, but I used to ship flowers, on airplanes and train lines when we were in the flower business. And so Amtrak has a number of lines that are named after the Southwest Chief or the California Zephyr. It's real credit to this man. He figured out how to get a train line to go to his house from Fort Collins and from Pueblo, and to fund it. So, I think it's only appropriate someday that it's called the Fenberg line or something along those lines. I expect great things from you in the future, President Fenberg, and hope to always count you as a friend. Thank you so much.
Mr. President.
No, I think there's a handful of people that haven't gone yet. I want everyone to go.
Senators.
I didn't know, it's funny, you don't really know what people think about you until they happen to say it on your last day of work. I knew how Janet felt about me, of course, but... Look, I have, in some ways, I have absolutely no idea what to say. It is very weird to me that 8 years have gone by. I mean, it's real weird. And, when I think about this building, this institution, this place, it's very normal to say, it's been an honor. And every time I come to work, I look at that dome and I get a little chill, right? Sometimes you take it for granted, but when you take a moment, I think we all feel this, walking down those marble stairs, or it's early in the morning before session starts, and I do often get here before session starts. In fact, I'm always here before session starts. But it is an honor, and it does feel like you're the luckiest person in the world sometimes when you walk into this building and say, this is where I work. I get to do this job. And, you know, when I'm on the weekends or in the interim, I'll run into people at coffee shops or whatever, and they pull me aside and they say, thank you for everything you're doing, or, you know, some sort of general kind of appreciation. And, you know, like, I don't know how you do it. You've gotten so much done, and blah, 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 blah. And it makes me realize that I'm guessing it's an experience that's different for all of us. But for me, I came into office relatively young. And in so many ways, this job, this building, this institution, this experience, all of you, has shaped me, right? So yes, it is an honor, and people thank me for my service and all that stuff. We all get that, you know, in our communities. And I think about it, I look back on it now for 8 years, I think I'm genuinely a pretty different person than when I walked in this building 8 years ago. And I don't know if that's because of the age that I came in at, or a lot has happened in that time period. I got married and I've had 2 children. I didn't have those facts about me on my bio page when I got elected. So I'm incredibly grateful for the experience. It has given me confidence. It has helped me develop my sense of who I think I am and who I know I am, in a way that I don't think without this role and this experience over these last 8 years that I would have gotten to the place where I am. It's taught me so much resiliency. It's given me so much perspective about what matters, what doesn't matter, how to get up after defeat and try again, or don't try again. Do something different. It has been an incredible life lesson these last 8 years, genuinely. I think part of it is because of the uniqueness of this strange place. It's the strangest job in the world. And we're all strange people because we chose this job. It's not a normal thing to do to yourself, to run for office. And if you really think about it, like there is no other job that's this. You can't really compare it to anything. The 35 of us sit at desks and we just debate issues of the day. It's like we're like in ancient Rome or something, right? It's just like wow, yeah, that is what we're doing. It's pretty basic. We are debating the issues of our society and trying to solve problems together. And it's obviously structured in a way where we inherently all come from different places. Geographically, life experience, age, you name it. What other job is structured that way? There's basically nothing. It's like, okay, we're going to divide the state up. We're going to make sure every area has one person, and all those people are going to be randomly selected in terms of their life experience and their backgrounds. We're going to put them in this room, and they're going to try to solve the problems of the day. It's kind of amazing that we get to do that we are one of those 35. And I think part of the magic of it is our differences. So Jim was saying the other day how much he has learned from the Democrats. And I think that's an incredibly important point and something that we should not lose ever in this room. and I talked about this in my opening day speech. I've changed, I think, because of my experience here. And I think it's partially because of working with people that don't think the exact same way as I do, or don't come from the same place, or don't do the same things. I think what was that, the Colorado Chamber breakfast, or maybe it was the Denver Chamber, the Denver Metro Chamber, where I was thinking about it, and I looked at the other guys on the stage with me, and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have normally been hanging out with people that wear cowboy boots to work, and it's not a costume. That's not where I come from. That's not me. And I'm better for it because we have to all work together to solve the problems of the day. There's no other world where I would naturally, just by who I interact with and the work that I would do or the way the people I would eventually kind of get to know, there's no other situation where I would be friends with someone like Bob Gardner, right? Like, our lanes wouldn't normally cross. Or Perry Will. Or Janice Rich. Even Barb Kirkmeyer. And for that, I think that is a big part of what has helped me grow. And I've learned so much from just working with people that don't agree with me. Even if we're not working on the things we disagree with, but it is so important in this day and age that you see your political rivals as humans. And I think if I were to have some parting words as I leave, it's that. Focus on relationships and figure out how we can see each other as people to solve problems together, not political enemies or rivals. I am so glad that I was never in the House. And I'm so glad that I served in the minority when I first came in. I think my experience would be totally different if I hadn't served in the minority for a couple of years. And I also think my experience would be totally different if I spent a few years in the House first. And that's not to downplay the House or say, that folks' experience there wasn't meaningful. I think it is significant for me that I came straight to the Senate. I think it helped me appreciate the institution and the norms and the customs of this place. I don't think I will ever have a job that's more stressful or more challenging or more rewarding, genuinely. And it's a weird thing to realize at the age of 40, that I don't think I will ever do anything with my life that is as rewarding as these last few years. And on one hand, that's a little depressing and sad. It's all downhill from here. But on the other hand, I feel incredibly lucky to even be able to say that I had these years to do the work that we were able to do together. A couple of quick thoughts, because I know it's late. It is really easy to tear down institutions, it turns out. It can happen very fast. Before you know it, you can tear down an institution and ruin it. Break customs, break norms, and change it overnight. It is incredibly hard to build an institution. And I just think it's something that we should all think about, and I provide some unsolicited advice on this, in that I think we have something very special in the Senate. We don't agree on everything by any means. We fight, we complain, we get really frustrated, we yell at each other. Clearly, as we've heard, I yell at some people. But in the end, this is a pretty special place. And I would urge all of us, whether you're in the majority or in the minority in the future, to make sure we are not treating this place as purely transactional, and that you always think about the long term, even when all you care about is your bill that is in committee tomorrow, or on the floor and you can't get 18 votes, or whatever it is. And I was talking about this with the minority leader earlier today. One of the things that in the moment you will feel like you were doing exactly what you were sent here to do, to get that bill done, to get that policy accomplished, to not give in or to attack somebody else's bill and amend it, or whatever it is. That is your mission in the short term. But all too often, it is a Pyrrhic victory. And you may win, you may get that bill across the finish line, you may get that policy changed, or you may make some executive director feel a little small for a little bit of time, or whatever it is that is your mission for that moment. Ask yourself if it's going to leave the institution better. And a lot of times the answer is it probably won't. And it's something that I think we need to ask ourselves and think about more often. At what cost am I going to win? Because the cost, you won't see it right away, but it will have a cost, maybe even not on you, but it absolutely could have a major cost on the institution. And that's what I mean when I say, in a moment, norms and customs can break down and an institution can fall apart. Maybe not literally, but figuratively over time. It can fall apart and things can erode and stop functioning in order to get to that short-term victory. Once that happens, once that breaks, it is so hard to build it back. And I know I have been responsible at times for breaking it, or for doing something that moves towards breaking it. And I genuinely apologize. Those are the things that I regret. I think I learned from them. But I do have regrets about yelling at you, Jim. The thing that you don't know is that after I was yelling at you, I turned around, I went into the office, and I looked at Nellie, and I said, that was really fun. Sometimes it's a useful tool to be really angry. But those cracks, those moments, you may get what you want done. You may get out of here by 10 p.m. instead of midnight. You may get that bill done or in a shorter period of time, or whatever it is. But you have to ask yourself at what cost. And that was one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last 8 years. My biggest regret is that over these last several years, especially as the president, that I haven't communicated or told certain people how much I appreciate them and their work. It goes for so many of you as my colleagues, but it especially goes for my staff. This place works. Bills get done, policies happen, not really because of us, but because of the people behind us that are helping, that are making us look good. And so, from the bottom of my heart, and for all of the times that I didn't say it, and I should have, I want to thank all of the staff. I especially want to thank my partners, Nellie and Mindy. Because honestly, the only way I've been able to sleep and go home and put my little girls to bed and read them a story and not be thinking about tomorrow's calendar or that bill or that little tiff I had with Jim is because I know I have such solid, competent, passionate, and committed staff. Not staff, but really partners. And it's not all on my shoulders. So genuinely, thank you. There's so many people I would love to thank, and I know this isn't the Emmys or something. Lucia Guzman, a dear friend, mentor, and yes, she yelled at me sometimes, and it was really scary. But I love her so much, and she taught me so much in those first couple of years, and I'm so grateful I sat behind her. And she, every single morning, would read me my horoscope. Leroy, for believing in me. Dominic, even though I will absolutely never forgive him for leaving all of us. Chris Holbert, Paul Lundeen, Madam Speaker. So many folks have taught me so much, and I'm a better person for it. Raleigh Heath, so many people that believed in me when I didn't believe in me. My good friend Lisa, who was the actual chief of staff for the governor. And my good friend Joe. And Leslie. And so many of us that have been together for longer than I can remember doing a lot of this work together in different forms. There's so many nights where things kind of sucked, or I was dealing with a thing, or whatever it was, and I would call Lisa. And, 6 out of 10 times she would say, I'm actually on the other line with Joe, I'll patch him in. Or vice versa, or, I'll be talking to Lisa and Joe calls me, and I'm like, I'm on the other line with Lisa, I'll patch you in. And the three of us figure out what's going on in our lives and our work together. It's been a gift that I think everybody should be jealous of, because it's the only reason why I ever ran for office, and the only way I ever could have had any of the successes that I've had are because of friends like you, Lisa. Of course, I want to thank my wife and my little babies who have been asleep for 4 hours. Because as we've said, when you run for office, the whole family runs for office, and there are sacrifices. And it is odd to do this when you have young children. You miss a lot, and they don't get it. Maybe one day they will. But it also is the reason why I feel good about leaving. It's because I know they're at home, waiting for me. Whatever I do next, I know there's a necessity that it includes them more. I want to thank my parents. The last few weeks, I've definitely been a little bit distracted because my dad has been very sick. And I'm going to see him on Friday. But even in the hospital, whatever that was, a week ago or 10 days ago, he watched my town hall on YouTube. He replies, my parents reply to every newsletter I send out. Wish we had a train in Ohio. I am ready for my mom to stop being like, you should be on Bill Maher. What are these other, why don't they invite you? You're doing such good work. Why don't they invite you on Bill Maher? Or, I don't know about Biden. You should run for president. It's like, it didn't work that way, Mom, but they've always believed in me more than they should. And it is why I've been able to do pretty much anything in my life. The last thing I just want to say, I learned something from a man who lives in my district, in my community. He's a master negotiator. And I find that stuff interesting, international negotiations, diplomacy, etc. And he said something once in an interview that stuck with me, and I think it applies to this work. And if there's any, last piece of a little nugget that I want to say for folks to carry with them into their future here at the legislature and the Senate, is that he says the cheapest concession you can give is respect. Because it means absolutely nothing to you. You're not giving up anything. But it means absolutely everything to the person on the other side of the table. It's an undervalued tool in negotiation that helps you get what you want and treats another human with respect and makes sure that they are valued and also get some of what they want. And it's something that I've tried to take to heart over the last several months in this session. It's something that I hope folks will think about. The cheapest concession you can give in a disagreement, a negotiation, a compromise, isn't an amendment or an idea or the ledge deck or the fiscal note. It's respect. And it can sometimes just be the simple thing that creates the breakthrough to find common ground. I feel sad. Everybody, obviously, over the last few weeks has been saying, how do you feel? How do you feel? What's it feel like? I have absolutely no idea. I feel numb right now. However, I do feel good in some ways because it's like that Seinfeld episode where you want to leave on a high note. And I feel like that's how I'm leaving. I feel like the Senate, since I've been here over the 8 years, I actually do feel like I'm leaving the Senate on a high note. I feel like it's functioning. I feel like it's doing good work. It is getting a policy agenda done. People are building relationships and doing what we need to do to have a functioning, strange little experiment of 35 people to solve the problems of the day. And I'm grateful and glad that I'm leaving the Senate in that way, on a high note, compared to the alternative of what it could be. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all. It's been an incredible honor. I feel incredibly lucky and grateful for the time that I've had in this institution. Thank you. Huh?
Mr. President, on behalf of the colleagues, on behalf of the staff, and the people of the state of Colorado, we want to present you one final token. It's your original block and gavel, and it says Steve Fenberg, Senate President, 2022-2024, Colorado Senate District 18, Boulder.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Janal, Senator Smallwood, what do you have to report? Senator Janal.
Thank you, Mr. President. The governor went home. No, we had a very good talk with the governor about, I don't know how many hours ago, but he was very appreciative of all the good work that we've done, and was very happy that it was bipartisan, and he was going to go out into the hallway when we left to see the rubber band ball drop, but I hope he's not still waiting out there.
Senator Smallwood.
For the last time, thank you, Mr. President. Governor didn't really talk to me much. He was focused on Senator Janal, and they were having a great old time, just catching up, talking about what Democrats do. I felt a little excluded from. No, I'm teasing. No, it was an honor to spend those last couple of minutes with Senator Janal. Appreciate the governor's warm reception. I echo the good senator from Fort Collins' comments. Appreciated the work that we did. Most importantly, what you need to take away from that conversation was that from my perspective, he did not appear to see a need for a special session. So this very well may be the last time we work together. So, yeah. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Colleagues, I move that the Senate adjourn sine die.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will adjourn sine die.